You just ate. Somewhere behind your ribs, sugar is moving into your blood, and for the next hour or two, your body has one job: get it back out again. Almost everybody knows that a walk helps. Here is the part almost nobody knows. In the trials that tested this, the walkers did not walk more. They walked the same number of minutes, just at a different time. And that alone changed the result. This is prime health. At the end of the last episode, I promised you 5 minutes against an hour. I owe you a correction because when I went to the papers, nobody had run that experiment. What they had run is better. 30 minutes a day, split up and placed after meals, against 30 minutes a day in one block. Same total. And then 45 minutes, the same way. Stay with me and you will know what the trials found, why a walking muscle can do something a sitting muscle cannot, and exactly what to do tonight. Chapter 1, the spike. Start with the meal. Bread, rice, pasta, fruit, the sugar in a drink. Your gut breaks all of it down to glucose, and glucose crosses into your bloodstream. That is not a malfunction. That is the entire point of eating. Within about 15 minutes of the first bite, the level in your blood is climbing. Your pancreas answers with insulin. Think of insulin as a key. It travels ahead of the glucose and unlocks the cells that can store it. And the biggest lock on the list is not your liver, and it is not your fat. As one of the standard reviews puts it, skeletal muscle is the major site of glucose uptake after a meal, the muscle you walk on. Now here is the fork in the road. If you sit down after that meal, the couch, the desk, the car, the muscle is switched off. The glucose still arrives. The insulin still knocks. But demand is close to zero, so the level in your blood stays higher for longer and your pancreas has to keep pushing. Some rise is completely normal. Every healthy person goes up after a meal. The thresholds you may have heard are diagnostic categories, and they are specific. The National Institute of Diabetes lists a normal fasting glucose as 99 or below, and a normal 2-hour reading after a standard glucose drink as 139 or below. Above that sits prediabetes, and above that, diabetes. But read the small print in the guidelines. Those are tests, ordered and repeated by a doctor. A diagnosis needs 2 abnormal results. This is not something to read off a wearable at 11 at night and diagnose yourself with. Chapter 2, the second door. Everything I just described runs through one door. Insulin arrives, binds to the muscle cell, and the cell brings its glucose transporters up to the surface. Door 1, it is a good door. It is also the door that stops working smoothly first in insulin resistance and the one that needs a working pancreas. There is a second door. When a muscle contracts, not sprints, contracts, it brings those same transporters to the surface through signaling that researchers describe as distinct from insulin's. And here is the line that matters most. In the review literature, that contraction-driven uptake is described as preserved in insulin-resistant muscle. The door that stops working smoothly is not this one. A walking muscle is opening a door that the meal cannot open on its own. And the size of that door matters. Skeletal muscle is the biggest glucose sink you own, and unlike your liver, you can switch it on deliberately from a standing start, in shoes, in your hallway. No gym, no equipment, no change of clothes. There is a second effect stacked on top. A contracting muscle needs fuel, so the vessels running through it open and blood flow into that muscle climbs. More delivery, more demand, more removal at exactly the moment the meal is arriving. Chapter 3, the trials. So does it hold up in people? 2016, the journal Diabetologia. 41 adults with type 2 diabetes wore continuous glucose monitors for 2 weeks at a time, and the researchers changed exactly one thing. The advice? Walk 30 minutes a day, whenever, or walk 10 minutes after each main meal, same 30 minutes. The post-meal walkers came out lower. The paper reports it as a ratio, 0.88, with a confidence interval that stays under 1, which is the technical way of saying the effect was real and modest, about a tenth off the post-meal rise. Same shoes, same minutes, different clock. And the effect was not even across the day. It was biggest after the evening meal. The ratio there was 0.78, which the authors tied to the obvious. Dinner carried the most carbohydrate, and after dinner, people sat the most. The worst behaved meal of the day is also the one with the most to gain. A second trial, 2013, diabetes care. 10 older adults with fasting glucose in the prediabetes range spent 48 hours in a metabolic chamber. 3 arms. 45 minutes of walking in the morning, 45 in the afternoon, or 3 15-minute walks, 1 after each meal. Post-meal walking was the only arm that significantly lowered glucose in the 3 hours after dinner. But I want to be straight with you about the rest of it, because the honest version is more useful than the clean one. Over the full 24 hours, the sustained morning walk worked too. Post-meal walking did not beat everything. It beat everything after dinner. Then the bigger picture, 2022, sports medicine, a meta-analysis pooling 7 trials of people who sat for hours and were interrupted, some by standing up, some by light walking. Standing helped a little. Light walking helped roughly twice as much, and it lowered insulin as well, which standing did not. And these were not workouts. The breaks those trials used were 2 to 5 minutes at a time. I want to be careful here. That is what the studies ran, not a prescription. The authors say plainly that they do not yet know the best dose, but it does tell you the useful direction. The bar is low. Guideline bodies have looked at this. The American Diabetes Association's 2026 standards tell clinicians to counsel that prolonged sitting should be interrupted at least every 30 minutes for blood glucose and other benefits for people with or at risk of diabetes. And then they grade that advice C. Not AC, their lowest grade of evidence, which is the guideline writers telling you honestly that it rests on exactly the kind of small, short studies we just went through. I would rather show you the grade than hide it. And now the part the internet skips. Every study I described measured blood sugar over hours or days. None measured whether you get diabetes or a heart attack or live longer. In fact, that experiment was run. Researchers took a drug whose whole job is blunting the post-meal rise, gave it to thousands of people at risk, and looked for fewer cardiovascular events. There were not any. Lowering the number is not the same as changing the outcome, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. Chapter 4, your move. So what does this actually look like? You finish eating. You stand up instead of sitting down. And you walk at the pace you would use to get somewhere, not exercise pace, not out of breath, around the block, to the end of the street and back, up and down your own hallway if it is raining. And if your day is mostly a desk, there is a second angle on the same idea. In a randomized crossover study of 24 adults with type 2 diabetes, interrupting a long sitting day with brief bouts of light walking blunted the rise in blood sugar and insulin after meals. 24 people one day in a laboratory, so hold it loosely. But it points in the same direction as everything else here. The enemy is the unbroken block of sitting, not the size of the workout. Timing is the whole point, so soon after the meal while the glucose is still arriving. 10 to 15 minutes is what the winning arms actually ran. And if you only ever do it once a day, the trials point at dinner, the biggest meal followed by the stillest part of your day. One genuine caution, and it matters. If you take insulin or a glucose-lowering medication, adding activity after a meal can move your blood sugar in ways that need planning. That is a conversation with the person who prescribed it, before you change anything. And if you have been told to limit activity for any other reason, the same applies. Nothing in this video is a reason to override your own doctor. And to be clear about what this is, a post-meal walk is not a treatment, and it is not a substitute for one. It is a small, free, low-risk input with measured effects on one thing: the size of your post-meal rise. Judge it as that, and it is a genuinely good deal. So, the whole episode in one breath. Food becomes glucose, and glucose has to go somewhere. Most of it goes into muscle, through a door that insulin opens. A contracting muscle opens a second door that insulin is not needed for. And when researchers held the walking minutes constant and only moved them after meals, the post-meal rise came down, most of all after dinner. If this was useful, subscribe. The next one stays in the gut. What dietary fiber actually does to the bacteria living in your large intestine. and which of the popular claims about it survive contact with the evidence. This episode is education, not medical advice. The studies here measured blood sugar, and only blood sugar. They are not a guarantee of any personal outcome. Talk to your doctor before changing how you manage a medical condition, and especially before changing anything about medication. Eat your dinner, then go for a walk.